Welcome to the Greater Journey podcast, where we aim to get the real, gritty, messy middle instead of the highlight reel so that you can see what made the guests that I bring on greater, so that you can see the real steps to becoming an entrepreneur and not all this fake stuff that's been put out there on the internet for you to believe, and make you feel like you can't level up from where you are. Today, I have an incredible guest, Sarah Khan, and I just think y'all are in for one of the best episodes I've made so far. So let's jump in. Sarah Khan, NYSH Strategic, and her personal brand is Sarah Khan Out Loud, and you're about to find out why today. Sarah Khan is a leadership empowerment strategist and educator. She's a TEDx talk speaker, a podcast host, an author, and founder of NYSH Strategic. She helps women turn quiet excellence into out loud power and leadership.
Yes.
And I've seen her power. And now we are about to unleash it on you. Sarah, what's on your mind today? Like, I know every time I log into Facebook, the first person I see is Sarah, and she's telling the truth. But you don't try, you do it.
I do.
Yeah. And it's like you're saying all the things people are thinking that they wish they could say, and like you're one of the only people that send an email that I will actually read the whole email.
Thank you.
Because I can tell it's not AI.
Well, yeah, no, we don't. We don't. We use AI the way it's meant to be used, sparingly and with a lot of discernment. And I haven't turned over any of the thinky stuff to AI because that's the part I enjoy. Like, if I enjoy talking to people, I enjoy communicating. Why would I turn that over to a robot? Right? Does it matter if my words are eloquent? Does it matter if, I'm not using M dashes? Like, okay, first of all, I've used M dashes my entire life. I'm a fucking English major. Pardon my language. I've used M dashes forever, and I will continue to use them. But people are getting caught up in, like, I think they're asking the wrong questions when it comes to AI. If you truly enjoy communicating, then just communicate. It doesn't matter how polished it is.
It's so true. I much rather engage with something that has some typos that's from the heart than something that is incredibly perfect that has no humanity in it.
Yeah. I mean, full disclosure, as an aforesaid English major, typos always bother me, and like that's something I've always judged typos, which I fully admit. But I can see the humanity behind it, right? Like I also have had typos and things after I've pressed post, and I'll go back and edit them if I find them. But it's just, I don't understand why there is such a rush to monetize everything and give away our agency, because that's essentially what we're doing. We're giving away our agency when we allow the bots to think for us and write for us and communicate for us and strategize for us. And that's not to say there isn't a place for them in terms of supporting your creative output,
right?
To make it more efficient, but it shouldn't be taking away from the creative part.
Right.
So that's just my 2 cents. That's how I feel.
Hey, your 2 cents is why we're here. So
write me letters. It's fine.
Yes. On that note, there's a story here behind leadership empowerment and strategy. There's a story behind why you're so passionate, and I love your musical language and how you strategically talk about F-bombs as F-sharps.
F-sharps.
Yeah. She dropped an F-sharp earlier, and it was so melodic.
Oh, I thank you.
No, but like seriously, I've tried to, carve out that part because of something someone told me years ago. I don't even remember who told me or who asked me why I used swear words in my music, but it was a challenge for me to take those out. But it also took away from who I am, because my story's not pretty. I'm not perfect. And, for those people that judge that happening, they act like it's never happened to them, or
Yeah.
like they don't watch rated R movies, or they don't listen to explicit music, right?
Yeah.
Like, look, can we be real for a minute? So the story behind who you are, how you are, why you are, like, can we talk about where this journey started?
Absolutely. How far back do you want to go?
Well, you had the podcast corporate blasphemy, and that was
Business
born from a
blasphemy.
story.
Business
Business,
blasphemy.
sorry, corporate
Yes.
rehab, business
Corporate rehab, business
blasphemy.
blasphemy. Yeah.
Um, there's a story behind that has helped to shape who you are and how you live from the heart now, which is courage, right? Living from the heart. I want to hear that story.
Okay. Sure. Well, thank you for allowing me to tell the story. It's because you think people know, right? If they know you, they know the story. They must have seen it on social. But the truth is, most people don't see what you like. Very few people see what you post. So you'll only know the story if you've been following me for years, or if you happen to come across a post where I shared parts of it. But I was in the online business space back in 2018. I started my consultancy back in 2010. Like, I've been doing this for a long time. It was
Wow.
part-time. It was in addition to my corporate job, to my teaching job. Like, it was always just kind of in the background. I consulted here and there. I spoke a lot. In 2018, after I had been laid off for the second time during mat leave, both times during mat leave, that's another story. I ended up going back to work in 2018, but realized that I needed something to help supplement my income, because I could not trust a job that I had poured my heart and soul into, and that just summarily dismissed me because somebody else was more senior or whatever, to have my best interest at heart. So I pulled my business into the online space in 2018 because I felt like there was more leverage there.
Hmm.
Fast forward to COVID, lots of things happened. We were on lockdown. I was trying to do my full-time job with my kids in the room. It wasn't happening. There was an incident where I just finally decided I can't do this anymore. And my husband was actually the one who said to me, he's like, if you don't quit your job, you're going to have a nervous breakdown.
Hmm.
And he's like, just go full-time in your business. It's fine. And he trusted me. So I trusted him, and I did it. And that was kind of, and the rest is history. But what I had
Wow.
learned was, like, sort of, in the corporate space, and having done the executive coaching and the project, like all of the stuff that you do in a business. And I
Hmm.
worked for two of the big four. So I worked for, I can't name them, but two of the big four professional services firms. I worked for both of them at some point.
Hmm.
And you learn a lot about how business runs. And when I came into the online space, I was primarily doing operations in the background.
Hmm.
And, seeing people who had come into the business space in 2020 as a result of COVID and lockdown and not having jobs to go back to,
Right.
but they were building these businesses without very much business acumen,
Hmm.
without very much business experience or knowledge. And this is not me throwing shade. This is a reality of what I was seeing.
All right.
And it was really hard to be in the back end of a business to try and help someone scale it, build it, grow it, and see them consistently get in their own way, see them consistently invest money in the next shiny object, and not really looking
Hmm.
at it as a business. And so I started to say things like, just because it's online doesn't mean it's not a business. Like, you have to treat it like a business.
Right.
So all of that to say, fast forward a few years, I got very, very frustrated, and I started to talk very candidly about what it actually takes to run a business, what it actually takes to build one.
Hmm.
How you have to be aware of the grifters and the charlatans in the space who are just trying to make a quick buck, like, you don't need all of this stuff, you need this stuff.
Hmm.
And found very quickly that it was polarizing in a way
Hmm.
that I did not expect. Like, I thought, I'm telling the truth. I'm, like, here to help you. I'm not here to try and, like, I'm trying to pull the wool off of your eyes. And
Right.
so many people took exception to that. And it was usually the people who were selling programs and courses and things like that, where the marketing was really wonderful, but when you get behind it, you get inside it, there
Hmm.
was no substance. People were locked into 10, 15, $20,000 commitments, and they weren't getting what they were promised. Like, I was starting to call out, not the people. I never call out the people, although I
Mm-hmm.
have a list. And if you're really nice to me, I might share it with you personally. But I always called out the tactics, and I always really encouraged people to see what was actually happening. Like, here are the questions you need to ask before you jump into a program. Here are the questions you need to ask before you hire a coach. And
Mm.
it just shocked me the number of people that were offended by that. Like, they, I started being called negative. I started being called, somebody who had a bad mindset. I had a money blocks and blah blah blah. And I was like, if that's the case, then why am I running a successful business?
Mm.
Right? Like, I'm not having any issues running my business.
Right.
So there are no money blocks here. There are no, I'm not a negative person. But, and then I started the podcast, and I started all of like the business blasphemy stuff and the corporate rehab stuff, because I really wanted to be able to share my knowledge, and, to be honest, really just kind of call it out in
Yeah.
a space that was my own and that people could opt into, versus me shouting into the void and hoping someone heard it. And
Right.
so, yeah, we've been going for three years, I think, now. So we're into season 4 or 5, and I've got a nice little loyal band of listeners, and I love them dearly. And yeah, we're still around. We're still kicking. So I don't know what to
And
tell you.
might I add, like, that podcast is incredible. Just the way that you articulate, the way that you do your research and you go deep and you tell the truth, right? There's not like I feel like I'm nice to you. I would love to know what that list is. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
our very first conversation, we were in tears together. So
We
like
were.
there was a connection immediately, and I think it's because you live from the heart, right? And your work comes from a place of I'm tired of seeing people struggle and get taken advantage of.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always had a service heart. And I think that for me, the hardest thing is watching, like, one of my, I guess, one of my gifts, one of my superpowers is I've always been able to see directly to the heart of any matter.
Mm,
So a lot of people, like, when they talk to me, they will talk to me because they're like, okay, Sarah, what's actually going on here? Can you just help me figure it out?
right.
And I do that. And it's funny, my siblings don't often like it, because I'll call them on their BS real quick. It's like,
Mm,
that's not actually the problem. Here's a problem. But they don't, sometimes they're like, I just wanted to vent. I'm like, no, this is the issue. Deal with it, because I don't want to deal with your nonsense. So, some people really embraced it, some people didn't, but that's the superpower I have. And so when I can see, like, there are people that I have known in the online space for 4, 5, 6 years,
mm,
and I look at their businesses and I see them in the same place they were 5, 6 years ago,
mm,
still struggling, still having the same, and I can see, like, if you just did this,
mm.
everything would work. But I'm not the kind of person who's going to impose my advice on you, because, if you want my advice, you pay me for it. And people have.
Right.
Um, and then they still have not implemented it, because I
Mm,
think the thing people don't like is that my advice is always work oriented. Like,
mm,
nothing I tell you is going to be quick, simple, and easy.
right.
Right? Nothing is a quick fix. Nothing is a band-aid. It's like, if you really want this to work, you need to put in the work.
And what
And
is
sorry, go ahead.
no 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 no. I'm gonna let you finish. I got this
Oh,
question.
just, like, put in the work. But we're told in all of the marketing, like, all of the marketing gurus will tell you that, don't talk about the work. That's not sexy. People don't want to hear that. So I kind of got to the point last year where I was like, well, then why am I even doing this? I'm just going to
Right.
focus on what I want to do and whatever. So it's been a bit of a crossroads the last year or so.
Yeah, I remember you reaching out as you were rebranding and
Yeah.
thinking about just kind of throwing it all away and starting over.
I'm
I'm like,
telling
no.
you, it's been a slog.
Like, don't throw it away. This is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
what you're doing works. You just have to find your people. So what I wanted to and your people will find you. Just you keep
Mm,
showing up the way you are.
yeah.
The people that don't like what you do and that make it a point to let you know they don't like what you do, they still serve a purpose.
Oh, yeah.
It may not be the purpose you want, but I mean, all press is good press.
Well, I'm a little bit infamous, I guess, in some circles, and it's the wonderful thing is it's been very telling as well, right? It's been very telling that the people who pay lip service to my face, like, oh, I love you, you're one of my favorite people, but then almost go out of their way not to support me, not to share things, not to, it's very telling. And so it has served the wonderful purpose of helping me really curate my close, like my inner circle. And I can count on one hand the people who are in that circle, and you're in that circle. So I mean, it's a very small circle on purpose, because it's taught me that not everybody who says they love you have your best interest at heart.
I'm learning that the hard way myself.
Yeah.
You become an author and you gain some enemies along the way. And
it's wild.
It's so, like, I wish somebody would have told me that before I did it so I could have prepared, but it is what it is. So your message should repel the wrong people as much as it should attract the right people. And you said you're infamous in some circles, but you are famous in my circle. Like Sarah is the one. So you talk about this work, and I'm gonna take the seat of a listener that needs what you have to offer right now. And I'm going to ask this way. What does that work look like? Because I wish somebody would have told me that it wasn't all magic and unicorns and rainbows when I jumped into business, that there was going to be this depression that came first, and this unlearning of all the corporate BS, and this unlearning of the employee mindset. And instead of wearing one hat, and no matter how you show up, you get paid, you have to wear 7 hats and show up at your best for all 7.
For all 7. Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody says that.
Well, this is why corporate rehab was born, right? Like the original, it wasn't the original brand. It was actually the second iteration of the brand. But corporate rehab was really that. It was understanding, because I worked with a lot of women in the early days, and a lot of them had left their corporate job to start businesses when 2020, 2021 hit. And that was the number one thing I was seeing, was that you really needed to unlearn this mindset of being the employee, right? That corporate mentality. Because I mean, I remember myself when it was 2020, I would sit down at my desk, which was in the it was in the dining room. And I would sit down at 8:00 and I would stay at my desk until 4, even if I wasn't doing anything productive, because that's a full work day. It took years to undo that mindset of time equals productivity or time equals value. And like, there are so many things that you have to unlearn. And it was in my own journey that I started to kind of put things together. And I am infamous for having epiphanies in the middle of the night. I am an insomniac for a reason. But like, my best frameworks come up at like 3 a.m. and I have an entire notebook, and you'll giggle at this, but my notebook is it's got a dragon on it.
Oh yeah.
This is my framework notebook. I do everything analog when it comes to like brain downloads, because
linguistic programming.
Well, no, it's the neuromotor association. So when you write, it sticks in your brain better. So that's what I do. And over the years, what I have discovered is that there is a hierarchy to business growth. And that's actually in the last year also evolved into a hierarchy of leadership growth. And I developed an entire hierarchy around what's required in a business in order to be successful and to be sustainably successful. So I called it the entrepreneur growth hierarchy, and I'm actually writing a book around it, and I'm going to include the leadership piece as well, because when I was teaching, I taught at business school for 14 years after I left like the corporate world. And if you've ever been to a private college, you'll know that it's very corporate anyway. So I continue to say that I have a fully corporate career, but I taught a lot of the professional skills, in addition to things like marketing and what have you. And one of the things that I loved was motivational theory. And so Maslow's hierarchy, Abraham Maslow, came up with the hierarchy of needs. And some of your listeners have probably heard of it. If not, very quickly, it's a pyramid, and it says like there are different levels. There are 5 different levels of needs that have to be satisfied before you can move to the next level.
Yeah.
So for example, the very base level, you have to have your physiological needs, like you need sleep, oxygen, water, in order to be able to worry about the next level, which is like job, security, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how it goes. And so I started to look at business from that perspective, and I realized that there are indeed 5 levels of business. And depending on the level you're at, like there have to be certain conditions in your business that have to exist before you can sustainably go to the next level. Can you jump from level 1 to level 4? Absolutely. But guess what's going to happen? At the first sign of hardship, everything is going to crumble. And so it starts with, like, if you're an emerging entrepreneur, if this is an emerging business, here are the conditions that you have to meet before you can move to the next level sustainably. And those are things like very quickly, like, finding offers that actually are viable. So doing whatever it takes to make money and see what sticks. And I've seen so many people come in their first 2 or 3 years of business, which is what I would say is probably the emerging time frame, and jump immediately to, I want to be an authority, I want to be a thought leader, I want to, like, baby, you don't have the necessary conditions yet to do that. Right. And so it's an entire, I wouldn't call it a framework, it's really a hierarchy. Like, these are and I've pressure tested it. I've done case studies around it. You have to do it in a certain order in order to be sustainable. And so that's really the work. When you talk about, like, what do you have to learn? It really depends. Like, where are you in business? And it doesn't have to do with number of years that you've been in business or how many businesses you've built. It's like, what is the maturity level of this particular business right now? And you might have been in business for 5 years, 10 years, but if you don't have certain things in place at those initial levels, then you're going to struggle to get to where you actually are trying to go. So many people trying to scale, but they're missing the foundations in their business. And so that's why they can't scale. And I started to look at that as well from a leadership perspective in the last year. And I see the same conditions starting to emerge from a leadership perspective. When you want to be, for example, if your goal is to be a highly visible thought leader, there are conditions that have to exist in your leadership and your visibility before you get to that level. So it's all just, it's a process. And I think that's what people forget, right, is that you cannot shortcut it. You can't jump over steps. And that's probably the most fundamentally troubling and problematic thing about online business specifically, is that so many people have been told you can absolutely shortcut it. You hear the term collapsing timelines, etc. I don't think people understand where that came from or what it actually means. They think if I just manifest or if I just do X, Y, Z, I can skip over steps 2, 3, and 4 and jump straight to self-actualization. And that's not true. It doesn't work. Period.
Man, Sarah, you just bursted a whole bunch of bubbles. And I'm here for it, girl. I'm here for it. This is real. I mean, you have to master everything at level 1 before you go to level 2, or else, right? I've heard this before. You either make time to do it right the first time, or you make time to do it over again.
Yeah.
And I've done the thing where you can shortcut and get to the top pretty fast.
Yeah.
But once you get there, you want to talk about imposter syndrome or status anxiety. Like, if you get to some place, like, your talent can take you where your character can't hold you. And
yes.
Let's just let that one breathe for a minute.
I'm writing that down. Fantastic.
I had to learn that the hard way. I heard it from a preacher, then I lived it. And I think that's how the process of how things happen in my life a lot of times is I hear something and it sounds sexy, or it sounds great, or it sounds practical. But if I don't understand, it's like my higher power is going to make me understand one way or another, especially if I tell him, I just don't understand this. Like, for example, when I first met my wife as a waiter, and I'm moving my body all day, but by the time I get home, I'm amped. I want to keep moving. And so
Yeah.
when I get home and she's like drained and all she did was sit there and work from a desk all day, I'm like, how could you be drained? Well, God put me in a corporation. He put me at a desk for
Hmm.
6, 7 years now, and I get it.
Yeah.
Using your brain for work, which is what we do as entrepreneurs, it will make you not want to use your body at all.
Yeah.
And we have to sit at a desk for it all. I'm taking a detour here, but I'm so curious to know, like, what you don't have to tell the whole thing. Just what is at the base? What do they need to know that's at the base that if they don't have this, their business is not going to be viable at all?
Well, let me tell you. It's really the foundational pieces, right? It's understanding what you're good at. Like, what is it
Mm,
that you actually want to do?
mm,
Testing out offers and seeing if they're viable. You know what's really funny, actually? Let me open it up because I've been working with this recently.
mm.
Um, and
Exclusive.
exclusive, because I've been trying to figure out how to put my my entrepreneur growth hierarchy together with my leadership hierarchy and like turn it into one thing.
Mm,
And I actually did. I created over the weekend. You're getting an exclusive because it's not even like fully formed yet.
I love
But
this.
I created what I'm calling the business and leadership continuum, and it's like
Mm,
a 5 phase uh, framework, I guess, or process that
mm,
people can walk through. Because it's like you just said, the reason I love that thing that you said about talent and character is because what I've come to learn is that your business and your leadership have to grow in lockstep. Because if one
mm.
outpaces the other, you stall,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You don't actually get where you're going. And so the 5 stages of business, for example, are emerging. Next is awakened. Then the third level is connected. Fourth level is flourishing. So many people want to get to
Mm,
that level of
yeah.
flourishing, and liberated, which is the fifth level. And it's so hard to get there. Like you have to, it's not, I shouldn't say hard. Let me rephrase that. It's, it's challenging to get there if you haven't done the work.
Right.
And so in order to really do the work, and again, like there's no sort of time frame around it. You have to, it's how much work you put in is how quickly you actually go through the stages. So
Mm,
that foundational stage, and again, there's no time frame around this, but you need to have a clear foundation. You need to have like your legal setup. You need to have bank accounts,
mm,
because I know people who are still operating their business out of their personal checking account, right? Like, don't do that. You need to have simple offers,
mm,
and you have to have a consistent sales process,
mm,
right? And in terms of like revenue stability, you need to be able to cover your basic expenses. I've often said if you are breaking even, you are successful because you're covering your basic expenses, right?
okay.
And we want stability there because you don't want, it doesn't you don't want it to be like a patchwork gig kind of situation. And a
Right.
lot of people are so focused because we're told, right? What is
Mm,
success? 10K months. Okay, well, how hard is that to get to consistently if you don't have a consistent sales process, consistent lead generation, offers that have been tried and tested and actually work, right?
right.
You want to have some kind of systems in place. They don't have to be documented like officially, but you should have, like, you shouldn't be doing things kind of off the top of your head for every client. You're going to start to have some kind of minimal workflow or system in place. And then like the most important thing is you've got at least one paying customer, and you know that you can repeat the results you got with them. That is level 1.
Mm,
Until you do all of that, do not even think of moving to the next level or the next or the next, because that's the
mm,
foundation of business. And this is why, and people hate it when I say this, and I sound like an absolute bleep when I say it, but this is why so many people are play acting at being business owners. They like
right.
the idea of calling themselves an entrepreneur, but really they just want to be an influencer. Do you have a viable product or service? Are you consistently making money?
Mm,
If you had
that's
to sell tomorrow, what are you selling? What is the business entity? What is it? If you
mm,
cannot answer those questions, then you don't have a business, my friend.
you have an expensive hobby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you have a
Wow.
team on top of that, then you have a captive audience you are paying for the privilege of watching you work. But those are the markers of success, right? That we have been told. 10K
Yeah.
months, you have a team. Okay, and how are you paying them? Got the number of, and I mean, I lost a client 4 years in. We had built this incredible business together. I was her director of
Mm,
operations, and she backslid because
mm,
she went into, I don't know, she started listening to the wrong people. And then suddenly we went from a flourishing business to I can't pay the team anymore, but that's okay because they believe in my vision. Belief does not put food on the table,
no.
right? So there's a lot of there's a lot of serious work that goes into it. It's not hard, but it's serious. And so if you want a business that is going to flourish, you need to be serious about it.
That is so good. So let's go over those levels again. So emerging, they need
Yes.
to emerge first, and
Yes.
then
The
the
next
next
level
level.
is the awakened CEO, right? Or
Okay.
the awakened entrepreneur. Um, this level, you've got like a defined service or product suite,
Hmm.
only one or two really strong offers. It's not like I have an offer for absolutely anything. No, 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 no. That was okay when you were like just starting out, but now you know which ones are actually making money, which ones have repeatable results.
Hmm.
This is why actually a friend of mine and I, we used to talk all the time in the early days about group programs and why it's really bad advice to tell someone that if you want to scale your business quickly, have a group program. I mean, logically, yeah, that makes sense. However, if you don't have a repeatable result that
Yeah.
you have had like 10 times, then you don't have a group program. Like it's not the time for that. So by the time you're at level 2, you've got a couple of really strong offers. You have, documented processes for delivery and onboarding and stuff. You've got some basic administration processes in place. Your lead generation is consistent. So
Hmm.
whether it is one marketing channel, whether it is networking, whether it is referrals, I built my entire operations business on referrals. I didn't market
Hmm.
at all. And when I pivoted my business, then I had to learn to market because the referrals had dried up.
Wow.
Now you can start to hire people too to maybe support you in a couple of administrative tasks. Because again, you've got the consistent revenue, you've got the consistent lead generation, so you know the money's coming in consistently.
And so it's easier to hire when you have predictable income.
That part, and you know where it's coming from, and you're forecasting out, right?
Right. Just
Yeah,
like we would have to do if we were working for some business. Like there's someone that handles those spreadsheets and does those things. We just
yeah,
have to be that person
yeah.
until we can
And
afford to hire it.
until you can afford to hire. Like one of the things I used to tell my students all the time, because I did teach entrepreneurship, and I used to say to them, because they hated the finance piece. Like whenever we got to the finance
Mm-hmm.
module, they were like, "Oh, I don't want to do it. Like I'm just going to hire an accountant." I'm like, "That's great." And if that accountant fiddles the books, you're still on the hook. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't necessarily have to become an accountant or become a financial wizard, but you need to understand the basics so that because you
Right.
are liable for everything that happens in your business, right? And so I'm not asking people if you're going to be a solopreneur to be an expert marketer, an expert financial wizard, an accountant, a bookkeeper. Like, no, but understand the basics because at the end of the day, it's still your business.
Right.
And if you
And
outsource it completely and you have no idea what's happening, then you end up having to sell your house to make payroll. And that's happened. I've seen people do that.
ooh, oof.
Yeah,
That's that's wild.
it is crazy. But, sometimes ego wins out and it's like, well, I'm not going to admit defeat. Sometimes admitting defeat is actually the smart thing to do because you can regroup and then try
Hmm.
again. So that's a whole side tangent we can go on.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. I try to keep these episodes down to 30 minutes. So I I know you said you got to go in like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I
but we
I
can
just
talk as much as you want.
really I really want to because I know the value of Saracon. I've seen your TED talk. I love when someone can bring me to tears and then make me laugh those tears off of my face. right? In the same speech. And that's what you were able to do with that
Thank you.
TED Talk. So there's emerging, there's
Mhm.
awakened CEO,
Yep.
and
Third
then there
level,
was
connected. So now you're
okay.
at the point you have a reliable sales pipeline. You're meeting your revenue targets. You're
Mm,
delegating some operations, right? Maybe you're even ready for like a full-time VA or an OBM or contractors. You've got documented SOPs.
mm,
Now you are ready to be recognized. You're ready for a niche or perspective or a brand positioning that people recognize. And so now they're connecting with
mm,
you around that. So now like the networking becomes important and the visibility starts to become important. This is
mm,
where that's important. And because now you're a brand, right?
mm.
Mm-hmm. So that's like at the middle stage. That's not down here where everybody thinks it is. It's like here. So,
Well, and I'll say a yes and to this
okay.
because a brand is just a newer word for reputation. And what we
Yeah.
do consistently is our reputation, which we are building a brand whether we realize it or not at all times, right?
Oh,
So
100%.
a brand is just a name that reminds you of a story, and a premium brand is a name that reminds you of a story that you'd pay a lot to want to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And if your reputation walks in a room before you do, you've been intentional about creating a reputation that precedes you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you can start to get intentional about it is when you have the receipts and you've been awakened and you have some processes in place. And so now it's like, yes, I've been building my reputation kind of unknowingly
Yeah.
by just showing up and being excellent wherever I go. But now it's time to be intentional about how I connect with others around that. Is that what
Yeah.
I'm hearing?
Absolutely. And I love the shift that you've kind of, because as you're building, and I've just made this connection now, but like as you're building in those earlier levels, like the emerging and the awakened, um, you are solidifying that reputation, right? So who
Mm,
you become, right? And this is where you build like that um consistency, not just in the business itself, but in who you are and what you deliver. And
mm,
that's the kind of reputation that you want to be known for at level 3, right? When you are
mm.
connected.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important to take it seriously from day one.
And it makes you worthy of connecting with.
It really does. Because why are you worried about having coffee chats and having people refer you if you don't know what you do consistently? Right? Like if you don't have clarity in what the heck you even offer, or what your messaging is, or what your leadership is,
Yeah.
who cares how many coffee chats you've had this month? When people show up in a coffee chat and like, how can I support you? And you're like, I don't know. That's usually why.
Mm. Sarah, don't eat their lunch like that, girl. It's true. Everyone wants to get to this next level, which is flourishing, but they
Yeah.
they they haven't emerged. They haven't awakened.
Mm-hmm.
They've connected, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's the use in spreading more confusion? If I'm confused
Yeah.
and I can't even tell you what it is I do, how are you going to go tell someone else what I do?
Yeah.
I said don't eat their lunch like that. I was talking about me. I'm they, right? I have no idea what I do, Sarah. I just know that I do it well. I can't tell you how many people have messaged me and they're like, I don't know what you do, but you make it look really good. And I'm like, I don't know
Yeah.
what I do either. I don't know how I've survived this long not knowing what I do.
Yeah. But you know what? But I think if you look back, right, there's a theme.
Hmm.
There are markers. So I think but I think the challenge, and I mean, I will not downplay how challenging it is, particularly when you are multi-talented
Hmm.
and you're a multi-potentialite. It's really hard to pick the one thing that brings you joy. And I'm going to hold my
Hmm.
hand up and say that that has been my challenge. Like operations for me was easy because I could do it with my eyes closed. It's what I did in corporate.
Right.
But it wasn't what I loved.
Right.
All the stuff that I loved, I was doing behind the scenes, right? And now that I'm trying to bring that to the forefront and have that be the thing that I lead with, it has been hard. It's been almost, I would say, where are we now? September? Yeah,
Hmm.
it's been, oh gosh, it's been 9 months really of me trying to figure out like of all of these amazing things that I'm passionate about, which is the one that's like the gateway drug for people to like come in and work with me. And it's hard because every time you make a decision, you're like, but then I can't help that person. And oh, but if I choose this, then I can't help that person. And so
Mm,
it really has to be like a refinement process. And I bet you anything, if you look back at what you've been doing over the
mm,
last while, you
yeah.
will see a pattern, you will see a theme, and
Mm.
it's coming. So just keep doing what you're doing.
As you've said that, I know what the theme is. I think it's just believing. And
Yeah.
I'm saying this because I know someone else feels this out there. I know someone else feels like it's too easy to be me. It's too easy to live in my natural gift, and I've been trained, conditioned to believe that it has to be hard. It has to be this process that this is grueling, and you have to do these things this way, and if you don't, you're wrong, or you're broken, or you're no, I'm an encourager.
Yeah.
I People can come into my presence one way and leave transformed,
Yeah.
and that's my gift. That's what I do best is I make them sink from their head to their heart and live from their heart. Now, monetizing that is another story. Like, it looks like I'm flourishing,
Mm-hmm.
it looks like I'm well connected, which I am. But if I don't have that emergence and awakening, right? If I don't believe it for myself, if I don't see the value myself, even though I follow people that are motivating and encouraging, even though
Yeah.
I see the value in other people doing that,
Yeah.
I know someone else feels the way I do, where it's like, yeah, but it's just me. Yeah, but anybody could be doing this.
I think that's probably the reason why. Like I had, because I, this framework, this process, this entrepreneur growth hierarchy, it really came to me in 2021.
Hmm.
And I have been like refining it and refining it and refining it ever since then. But that's why the leadership piece came into play as well.
Hmm.
Because what I started to realize was all of this makes complete logical sense, but you can't live life purely on logic. There has to be that mindset shift that goes along with it. And so when I said
Yeah.
earlier about like your leadership growth, and when I talk about leadership, I'm not talking about leading people. I'm talking about self-leadership,
Yeah.
right? Like how you lead yourself. If that's not in lockstep with your business growth, one or the other is going
Hmm.
to stall. And so you can call it mindset, you can call it, belief, you can call it what you want, but it's really self-leadership.
Hmm.
And so when you are at these stages, like for example, when you're the emerging entrepreneur and you're building that foundation of your business, you also have to be building the foundation of your leadership. And
Hmm.
so most people at that early level are feeling um, lost. They're feeling unseen. They are trying to figure out what their identity is. They need that confidence building. They need that vision clarification. And the work comes down to um, reclaiming that voice.
Hmm.
Setting boundaries with yourself. So not just this is what I'm going to do and this is the time I'm going to spend, but also the boundaries of like I'm not going to believe that anymore. Right?
Hmm.
This is where self-leadership begins. And when you
Wow.
move to awakened, when you've actually got a viable business going, that's when that imposter syndrome kicks in. Right? When you get to level
Hmm.
2 of what do I call it? Like, this is now where your visibility starts to become a thing and people start to notice you.
Hmm.
Imposter syndrome kicks in, and so now you have to like actually start to have conviction in your values, and you have to start embracing, oh my god, you have to start embracing the fact that you're actually an expert at something. Right? There's all of
Wow.
that mindset stuff that comes with it, and so they kind of go hand in hand. And so the big aha moment I had last week was you can't do one or the other. You have to do them both at the same time. And that is the only way that it all works seamlessly. Because on paper your business might look great, but if you're waking up every day going, I got here through sheer will and luck. Well, that's a problem. We need to fix that mindset.
Right.
So if you, and I know you know this about me, but if you've been listening to my podcast for any length of time, you'll know that I have a huge issue with mindset coaching.
Hmm.
um but mainstream mindset coaching, right? The
Yeah.
just high vibe and you will have whatever you want. No, mindset is super important, but it has to be done intentionally and it has to be done with a purpose.
Yeah.
And there has to be an outcome, like an actual ROI to that. And like, how do you, and I think this is why so many people love mindset coaching. And again, this is going to make some people mad. Feel free to send me letters. Absolutely fine. I love fire. I burn things. But the ROI of mindset is really hard to determine. And a lot of people don't ask for it. Like I just feel better magically one day. No, 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 no. It's something you can actually track. And it's something that, again, you have to put the work in. I have this conversation with my teenager all the time. It's like, if you really want a thing, you need to actually track it. Because I think you've said it, right? Like, you don't know what to change if you're not keeping track of what's actually going on.
Yeah, you can't measure what you don't track.
That part, yeah.
Or you can't, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't grow what you don't measure.
Exactly. So, it's why do parents have that ruler thing on the wall? Because you don't know if your kids are growing unless you're tracking it. It's the same thing with you. If you're not tracking your growth, how do you know if you're growing? Wow. So one of the things that I've implemented for her, and it's something that I've been doing for years in my business, it's keeping a wins journal. Every Friday. She does this every night. It's in her alarm to do it every night. But every Friday I take 15 minutes. That's it. Friday morning, I do my weekly admin and I pull out my wins journal and I log all of the great things that happened this week. Not all of them are business. Sometimes it's like, I had the best freaking cup of coffee yesterday because I put the perfect amount of cream in, like whatever, right? Like whatever made you feel really good that week.
Yeah.
Because when you go back, when you're having a bad day or a bad stretch of days and you're like, I suck at this, I should not be doing this, I should burn it all down, you open that wins journal and you go, actually, look at all the progress I've made.
Yeah. It's so good. And it's so real. Like, I had a little calendar journal, and there's two sides to this. There's the writing it down so that it sticks, but also writing it down, there's something different that's happening when it's in your head versus when you're actually seeing it written down concrete, right? So I used to have to-do lists, and I would write out all these things I needed to do, and if I didn't check them off, I felt bad. What I started doing was I started having like 5 things max I needed to do this week if I wanted to feel accomplished. And anything else that happened along that way, any side quests I took, were bonuses. And so what happened was I would eventually get that thing done, but I would take note of, even the moments where I had good coffee, or I made good food, or I made a connection, or a God kiss happened in my life. I would take note of all those. And then I realized there was a lot more cool stuff happening. Because if you're only looking at your to-do list, and it's overwhelming, and it's all these huge things that either someone else has told you to do or you think you need to do, and you don't really want to do them, and you don't do that, it's really hard to see how much you actually have done.
Absolutely.
And when I stopped tracking, when I stopped celebrating my wins, when I stopped tracking everything I did, I started noticing in myself getting depressed.
Yeah.
And it's so important. So you're going to say something, and I know it's going to be good.
No, I was just going to say, like, from a psychological perspective, because Sarah was a psychology minor in university, our brain's job is to keep us safe. And so it is programmed to seek out all the negative. Because if it keeps track of all of the negative, it can keep you safe from it. Oof. And so it deprioritizes all of the good things that are happening, which is why it's so important to write them down, record them somewhere. It is absolutely critical to your development and to your mental health, especially in this day and age when we are just bombarded with fear, war, horrible things, right? Because now, in addition to all of our own internal terrible thoughts, we have the entire world's thoughts at our fingertips. So yeah, we can say, like, disconnect from your phone and blah, blah, blah. Write down those moments of joy.
Man, Sarah, if we had a mic to drop, that would have been the moment to drop it. Listen, we got 4 minutes left before you need to be mom again. What is 2 questions left. So, what is one thing you want to tell to the listener that's watching this today that you haven't already said?
Gosh, so many things I want to say. Oh, I want you to remember that you are loved and that you are worthy of every single dream that you have. And you've just got to believe in yourself. And if you don't have the capacity to do that, come hang out with me and Greg. We will believe in you until you believe in yourself.
There's those tears. Girl, I felt that with every fiber of my being. And I'll second that. Like, you are greater. Like, you have to see yourself through the lens that everyone else sees you through, because everyone else can see it but you.
Yeah.
And so if you need to borrow someone's belief, as Sarah said, come hang out with us.
Come hang out with us. I wish someone had told me that. I needed someone to tell me that last year when everything was falling apart. And no one did. So I had to reach out to people, to remember that it's there's not enough time for me to start crying, but like it's the people in my inner circle that kept me going. Right. Yeah. And so I really felt like that was something that needed to be said, because I'm sure there are people out there that are like, I just don't know what the hell I'm even doing anymore. And it's okay. You'll figure it out.
Amen.
I'm 15 years in. I'm still figuring it out. So give yourself a little bit of grace. Okay.
That part, girl. Okay. And the last question, where can they find Sarah Khan?
Everywhere. No. You can find me on pretty much all the socials as Sarah Khan out loud. My favorite places to hang out are Instagram. I've been a little bit lax lately because I do have a full-time job again, just because I needed to like test my brain in a different way. So I haven't been as active on social lately, but I'm trying to get back at it now that the kids are in school. So Instagram is my favorite place to be. If you want to hear my more unhinged random thoughts, Facebook's a good place to go. But the best place to get me is on Substack now. And also my podcast, which is coming back in October. So
man, I can't wait.
Coming out.
Podcast is incredible.
Business Blasphemy season 4, I think. I can't remember. It's like time is a flat circle and it's all a blur, but it's good. We're over 116 episodes in, so come hang out.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna put that in the show notes for them to find you. And this has been incredible. My eyes started sweating. I know there's been tears and lots of light bulbs that have gone off here. But I want to thank you for coming on the show today, Sarah, and giving your time, wisdom, experience, strength, and hope. And we are going to do this again, because every time we get together, amazing things happen.
I would love to. Anytime for you, my friend. Anytime.
Thank you. I'm going to play this outro song because I actually made this and it's really fun. And it just makes me so happy. It just sounds so official, right?
Because I love.
All right, I'll stop the recording right there. We'll see you on the next episode.